Hey everybody, happy Friday. It's JJ and I'm here back again for another Asus PC DIY hardware live stream. We've got a lot to talk about again with our follow-up CES 2022 live stream, where last week we went ahead and dived into all the products that we had in terms of the new product announcements for CES 2022 that were part of our ROG component series of hardware. So we talked about routers, we talked about, of course, peripherals, we talked about, of course, monitors, a lot of different products that were included in terms of the ROG lineup. But this week around, we're actually going to be tackling essentially the non ROG lineup. So we've got still a huge number of products to actually dive into for this week's stream. We're going to be talking about some monitors. We're going to be talking about some networking. We're going to be giving you guys updates in terms of some of the most recent product announcements that are now starting to hit the channel in terms of overall availability. We've got some new networking adapters that we're going to touch on, some updates on the actual Herculix, which I know a lot of you guys have been interested in, and just a whole bunch of other items. So we've definitely got a packed live stream this time around. And as always, we'll also be looking forward to your guys' questions, comments, feedback, whatever it might be. So we're going to get ready to go ahead and kick things off and see how everything's going. Hey, Dead BC77, happy to have you joining us here on the stream. Thanks so much for joining us. Hey, also as well, thank you guys so much for Maricel for joining us here on the stream. Fantastic. And Daniel, also thank you for joining us on the stream. And we'll give one more shout out here. Danny, thanks so much also for joining us here on the Asus PC DIY hardware stream. So first things first, normally we do jump into the UEFI BIOS announcements. There are no new announcements for today, but I'll probably have actually announcements. I'm thinking probably on Monday. Generally, we usually release the UEFI BIOS announcements about every 7-10 days, although we, as a manufacturer, of course, release UEFI updates almost on a daily basis. But to make things a little bit easier for those of you that may be interested in terms of UEFI BIOS updates, what I generally will do will essentially consolidate all the releases that we have within about a 7 to 10 day period for our Intel and AMD series motherboards, and then I'll post those in our Asus PC DIY Facebook group. For those of you that are not aware, feel free to go ahead and check out the actual group. I'm going to go ahead and link it in the chat. And if you guys are interested, you'll see that there's actually a featured announcement that I essentially post, and it will contain all the information regarding which motherboards have been updated, if there's anything specific that you might want to keep in mind, as well as questions that are commonly asked regarding, should I update my UEFI? What about overclocking considerations? What scenarios where I would not want to maybe update my UEFI, and a lot of other just parameters. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check out the group. I've got a full, like I said, featured announcement post that'll cover you in terms of all those details. And there's also a linked guide, which will actually walk you through step by step how to actually update the UEFI if that's something that you're not as familiar with. Okay. So for today, like I said, no announcements in that regard. All right. Hey, Sniff, happy to have you here. Fantastic. Always to have you here on the Asus PC DIY stream. So thanks so much for joining us here. Hey, Danny, are you going to be making an 8K monitor? So generally we don't usually talk about anything that might be under a design or development. Asus really, I think, being a market leader when it comes to our monitors, we're always kind of interested in new types of kind of specifications, technologies, backlighting implementations, it runs the gamut in terms of what we're always evaluating. But there's always that balancing act of trying to make sure that the feature set, the functionality, the performance and specifications kind of all come together holistically, while at the same time, hopefully being innovative and cutting edge. Right now, I still think we're a little bit away from seeing, I think, a focus from us in terms of an 8K perspective, but never say never. Nothing to definitely announce right now. We've got already quite a number of recent announcements, especially coming out of CES, where I still think really 2022 is going to continue to be the focus for a 4K resolution, right? We're continuing to see improvements in terms of backlighting technology or different types of display technologies, whether we're talking about OLED being, of course, where we're releasing our 4K OLED-based monitors, or whether you're talking about mini LED technology for 4K, ultra high refresh rate for 4K, and everything kind of comes along with that. I still think really that's where the majority of the focus is going to be from us, along with, of course, other, traditional aspect ratios and resolutions, whether we're talking about ultrawide, 1080p, 1440p. I still think that's where most of the focus is going to be. But if you're interested, make sure to check out the group. The group is where definitely any even teasers of upcoming products are posted. So if you want to find out about something first, you're going to find out about it in the group. Builder Spotlight. I really wanted to try to do it today, but we have such a packed show in terms of hardware. I don't know if I'm going to get to it. Also, just on a personal note, some of you guys may be aware that, my dog, has brain cancer, and so he's had some breakthrough seizures. So it's been a couple of days for me the last couple of days. So I didn't have as much time to consolidate and review the submissions for the PC DIY Builder Spotlight, but I have gone ahead and already started to filter through new submissions that we've had for people that have gone ahead and submitted their builds. So definitely rest assured, hopefully next week we'll definitely kick back off the PC DIY Builder Spotlight for 2022. And actually, I think moving forward, we're going to actually break out the PC DIY Builder Spotlight in its own dedicated stream, so that the only part of that focus will be the PC DIY Spotlight. And we're actually also going to be integrating something I've always wanted to do as part of the PC DIY Builder Spotlight, which is our Q&A section. So I've got some great builders in the community, whether they're modders, whether they're builders that are going to be joining me in terms of some interesting Q&A and dialogue to give you guys some perspective in terms of how they approach their building, what were challenges, what were things that they could have improved upon, what were things that they liked, as well as their feedback on utilizing our products. I think this is going to be a really interesting way to also add some additional kind of points of interest for the PC DIY Builder Spotlight. So stay tuned for that in the not too distant future. All right. So let me go ahead and see anything else that we've got right there. Hey, Steve, we've talked about that in the past in terms of general GPU availability. We continue to actively work on terms of production of our cards as much as possible. It's just the reality in terms of marketplace conditions that, you just want to try to continue to be diligent in terms of taking a look at, the e-tailers that you're looking at for availability, right? But we are actively working as much as possible to be able to produce the cards to our best degree, regardless of the series, whether we're talking about our Tough Gaming series or whether we're talking about the ROG Strix series, the LC series, the KO series, the Turbo series, the Dual series, the Noctua series, whichever the series is that we're looking at. Hey, Damien, let me go ahead and answer this question before we get ready to jump into one of our very first products. And that's going to be, so in your opinion, what's a good monitor to use with a PC and a next-gen console? This is really interesting. A lot of people will say it has to be an HDMI 2.1 monitor. Actually, I don't agree with that at all. The main reason being is that when you talk about a next-gen gaming console, whether you're talking about Xbox or PlayStation, a lot of the focus gets put on 4K and 120 hertz. But the reality is that almost no games within either one of those consoles are actually running natively at 4K and 120 hertz. So actually what becomes more important is, one, are the games that you're playing even actually rendered in a high refresh rate? Most of the games that do actually support high refresh rate, so 120 hertz, are usually doing that at 1080p, or they might be doing it for the Xbox maybe at 1440p, and they're usually using some form of an adaptive resolution technology. In addition to that, variable refresh rate is a technology which can be beneficial also within consoles, and HDR, because there's actually a lot of games that have been mastered to a high degree in HDR. So when you kind of balance those things out, I think that really opens up the number of monitors you can take a look at. For me, I think we've got some great options in terms of the ROG Strix line, as well as the Tough Gaming series, where as long as you got really HDMI 2.0B, which would support essentially the 120 hertz at 1080p or even 1440p, you're good to go. So then the question just comes down to what is the dimension, and then what's maybe that HDR target. If you really want to see a little bit more punch and contrast in terms of the overall image, look to some of our monitors that have probably at least something like an HDR 600 rating, if not higher. Of course, 1000 rating would be outstanding. If you're looking for kind of maybe a sweet spot monitor that's going to be coming up, definitely the PG32 UQXE, I think, is going to be a very popular option for gaming enthusiasts, and that actually also will include HDMI 2.1. But if you actually go check out some of our recent streams, we've dived into a couple of different monitors that actually I think would work pretty well for you in terms of a console, whether it's going to be a PlayStation or Xbox. So hopefully that answers your question, man. So with that, let me go ahead and just see if there's any last questions there before we get ready to jump into anything. Is there any Asus motherboards currently made that will hold 4 GPU cards? Oh, okay. So this is an interesting question. So, is there any Asus? So, if I'm understanding this question, if you're just looking to be able to actually run multi-monitors, you don't really need 4 GPU cards. Most graphics cards. So, an example right here. This is a 3080. You'll actually see that there's 4 display outputs. You can run 4 unique displays from one single graphics card. We actually even make quite a bit more entry card that's specifically designed for this. So you can actually readily buy, even considering the market conditions. It's not anything special. I think it's a GT710 series card. Let me see if I can bring up the product page for this. But Asus GT710 for HDMI. this card would be definitely usable in that type of scenario. Yeah, here it is right here. So let me go ahead and bring it up for you. And let me see if I can share this. Here we go. So if you take a look right here, this is the actual card. This is the GT710, and you'll see right here that it actually has 4 HDMI ports on it. This is a very low-cost option that you can get if you wanted to have a dedicated graphics card specifically for that. Drops into a slot, and you're kind of good to go. It's not a high bandwidth-based requirement card, so it's very good in terms of those types of scenarios if you need multiple display output configurations. But beyond that, most modern GPUs are going to generally at least conservatively have 2 display out, but many of them 3, and definitely the higher-end cards have 4 GPU out configurations. So pretty much you should be covered as long as you have one of those graphics cards. So hopefully that answers your question there. Okay. All right, so let's get ready to jump into this, guys. Let's go into some product updates. Of course, feel free, if anybody's got any questions, don't worry about it. Make sure to go ahead and drop your questions in there, and I will be getting to them as we go through all the different products that we've got to talk about today, and we have a lot. But I do want to go ahead and just give some general kind of product updates on a couple of ones that I know that we've had some questions regarding in terms of availability and different things along those lines. So first up, let's go ahead and talk about the Thor 2. I know that there's been a lot of questions. Hey, when is the Thor 2 going to be available? So if you're not aware, this is what I'm talking about, this beautiful power supply, the Thor 2. This guy is going to be essentially our updated version. It's essentially just taking kind of the current version and taking it to the next level. It's even going to be higher performing. You're going to have, of course, that fully modular design. You get that really nice, beautiful, clean display that's integrated in there. It's been a little bit more refined. You still get the Argb lighting. But this will now be coming, of course, in some different wattage configurations. So we're going to have an 850 watt, 1000 watt, 1200 watt, and 1600 watt. The first model that is going to be made available is going to be the 1000 watt, and that will hopefully be available by about the end of this month. And as we start to move essentially into the next months within Q1, so Q1 being January through March, we're going to start essentially releasing more models. So the first will be the 1000 watt, then we'll be moving to the 1200 watt, 1600 watt, and then the last model will be the 850 watt. The expectation will probably be that the 1600 and 850 are probably going to be around that very end of kind of Q1 timeframe, possibly moving into the Q2 timeframe. Again, we will definitely make sure to keep you guys up to date in the Asus PC DIY group. So if you've got any questions, you can feel free to go ahead and post there, or make sure to go ahead and just take a look at the product release calendar. The product release calendar is going to give you kind of all that updated information in terms of helping you to just kind of know when everything is kind of going on in that regard. Okay. So give me 1 second here. All right. Let me just see, are any... No, so as I just noted, yeah, 1600, there will be a 1600 watt, but the 1600 watt won't be available until, like I said, probably the very end of Q1 timeframe, moving into probably early Q2 timeframe. The first models from us, from a production standpoint, are going to be the 1000 watt and then the 1200 watt. And like I said, the 1000 watt probably going to be sometime a little bit later this month as we move into Q2. Hey, Eve 007, thank you for joining the stream. Fantastic to have you here. The ProArt mouse, I'll have to double check on that. I'll check with our product management team. I don't know that it's 100% confirmed that we're actually going to be carrying that in North America. I know I did show that off, but make sure to go ahead and keep it tuned. If you want to tag me in the PC DIY Facebook group, then I'll definitely make sure to go ahead and follow up on that and see if I can confirm more details for you there. So next, what's the next update I had here? I had actually a couple of different products that I know there's going to be. Okay, next one is going to be this guy right here, which is going to be the Ryogen 2. So this has, of course, been very, very anticipated. A lot of people have been super excited about this cooler. And if you didn't watch last week's live stream, then you're, of course, already aware that the Ryogen 2 will be coming in a ARGB edition. So essentially, this one right here has modified fans, right? So it doesn't come with the Noctua fans. Excuse me, it comes with the Noctua fans by default, but these ones are Sickle Flow V2 Cooler Master fans that I just added on just for, RGB flare right now. But there will be an ARGB edition, which will come with our ROG Strix RGB based fans. But that's going to come at a little bit later time. The current Ryugen 2, for those of you who just want to see a closer look, but it's of course the same cooler that I'm running right here on this Maximus Extreme board, is this guy right here. It's got this big, beautiful 3.5-inch, of course, integrated display that has the VRM assist fan, and it also comes with an Argb Fan Controller. I can go ahead and show you that. This one will, you'll essentially start seeing it a little bit more in terms of availability, probably within about the next week and a half to 2 weeks. So you should probably see like Newegg and Amazon and some of the other e-tailers get it relisted. It has already essentially become available in North America. We have already launched it, but it's sold out. And now we're essentially working to go ahead and get restock and replenishment out there. So you will be seeing this in the not too distant future. So if you're looking out for the Ryugen 2, just hold out probably by about the end of January, maybe a little bit earlier than that, and you'll be able to go ahead and pick one up. Okay. So that's an update there on the Ryugen 2. Let me go ahead and get over to one other, I think, two other updates right here. We've got our M4 Air and our M4 Air and our M4 Wireless. So these are our brand new tough gaming mice. It's a super ultra lightweight mouse. And let me see if I think I have the images right here for the Air and the Wireless. So let me go ahead and bring up the Air. I can bring it up over here. Yep. Yep, I got it right here. And so this is going to be the Air. Both of these you should probably see by about the end of this month. Okay. So you'll see right here, it's got, of course, very, of course, lightweight body design, semi-ambidextrous, essentially what you have right there with that honeycomb, right? Very lightweight. This is a sub 50 gram base mouse, so this is a very lightweight base mouse. It has, of course, our kind of paracord based design, which is super smooth, essentially no resistance, no drag, high quality optical sensor right there. Probably the biggest difference some people aren't aware of is that in our design, what we did do is actually there is a nano coating that we do apply directly on this internal PCB. So the benefit there is even if you have like direct moisture, something was maybe potentially spill, humidity, or maybe sweat even build up from your hands. If it makes contact with the PCB because of the nano coating that's on there, it's protected. So there's actually an IP rating that's on there. So you don't actually have to worry about that. Compared to many of the other mice that are on the market that feature this type of honeycomb design, you do not actually have that type of nano protective coating. So that is going to be a difference on the M4 Air. That is going to be the wired version, and that one is going to come in at $49.99. And then we are also going to have the wireless version, which will just come in a little bit more in terms of the weight, but it still be a very lightweight base mouse. And let me go ahead and just bring that guy up for you. And this one will be coming at $10 more in terms of the overall price point. So not too much more expensive, but if you're looking for a wireless option, then this will be the mouse for you. Although keep in mind, of course, we have tons of other wireless mouse within our ROG series lineup. So this is just specifically to the brand new Tough Gaming series of products that we have available where we just launched these, right? And these are also kind of coinciding with our new Tough Gaming H1 series headsets. So here you can see this is the wireless version. You can see that it's got a full body in terms of that there's no kind of honeycomb design right there. The main kind of difference I would say here compared to our ROG based mice is that this uses actually a battery as opposed to having an integrated type of design where the battery is mounted internally. The cool thing though is going to be that you can use either AAA or AA. And for those of you who don't know, that actually affects a little bit of the weight. There's also a difference even between like alkaline and different types of batteries in terms of their chemical composition, but very good quality mouse as well. This is going to be a wireless option, and this one will be coming in at $59.99. And same thing, this one should be online by the end of January. So I think that probably covers the updates. So Thor 2, the Ryugen 2, the M4 Air, and the M4 Wireless. We also do, you should see actually right now available, you can get it right now online, is going to be the Tough Gaming LC series cooler. So the Tough Gaming LC series is going to be essentially our entry series into our AIO coolers. So I don't think I've shown that one yet. I think I have shown it on the stream, not 100% positive. But we'll actually be doing a little bit of a stream a little bit later on in terms of kind of our AIO refresh update. But all of our second gen series coolers, this one included, so the Strix LC2 series, the Ryugen 2 series, and the Tough Gaming LC ARGB edition all come with the 1700 bracket included inside the box. So if you're looking for 12th gen series coolers, you're covered. But this is going to be this unit, and you will see that it also has the brand new Tough Gaming ID design. So this matches up perfectly with the current generation of graphics cards and motherboards, which have now this new Tough Gaming ID design. Okay, and nice, clean, compact design. Braided cables right there, 240 millimeter AO, although we do offer this also in a 120. And you can get this now. It is right now available on Newegg and Amazon. So this one is now actively available online. The last thing is going to be, I think I've got just one update, which is going to be with the GT-AX 6000. And then I'll double check right now for any questions that anybody has posted. So let me just go ahead and show you guys the GT-AX 6000 right here. And this is going to be a really great option if you're looking for a Wi-Fi 6 router. You haven't made the upgrade as of yet. This is a great option right here. Very, very high performance based router, high performance based chipset design. This is going to also feature 2.5G. So if you've got newer hardware that has the 2.5 gigabit networking standard, you want to also take advantage of the Wi-Fi 6. You're looking for outstanding range. You're also looking for the mesh compatibility that we offer in terms of AI mesh, where you can put two of these routers together to even have a broader level of coverage. You can definitely have that. So you can see right here, you've got your 2.5 gigabit WAN port or LAN, then another 2.5 gigabit LAN port. You've got your 4 Ethernet ports, including a dedicated gaming port, which is immediately optimized, although you can do that all within the app in terms of optimizing and prioritizing systems or specific usage scenarios. Your USB ports that are also on there. And this does also feature our latest generation, what's called range boost technology, which is pretty sweet. But this guy is also now actively available. Very high performance based router, is going to definitely come in a bit more than some of the previous models that I've recommended, like our RT82U or 86X in terms of our AX series or Wi-Fi 6 based products. This one is going to be coming in at $399. But if you're looking for a high performance router to take you for the long term, that's going to be a fantastic option. So that gets all of our product updates out of the way. So let me go ahead and get ready to jump into the new products here, but let me see if we've got any questions right here and just see if we're good right there. Gaming port, yeah. So on pretty much all of our gaming routers, there's what's called a pre-designated gaming port. And what the gaming port essentially just means is that that hardline connection is immediately prioritized. So that could be from like a desktop, it could be from your console, it could actually be from any device. The immediate device is automatically essentially prioritized when it's hardline connected. There is also a little bit of optimization in terms of what we do in terms of what's called packet analysis. So the router actually has something that's called DPI or deep packet inspection. It has the ability to understand what's flowing through the router. And when this gets toggled on, this is what's called quality of service. And we can essentially figure out the packets that differ between, let's say, a game and let's say between streaming. And so when you've got tons of different things that are going on the network, you can actually prioritize just your gaming packets as opposed to, let's say, streaming packets. Because take, for instance, a lot of people don't really understand this, but gaming doesn't actually use a lot of bandwidth. If you were to measure how much bandwidth gets used, it's not a lot, but it's very latency sensitive. Whereas, let's say, like streaming 4K video from like Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu or from some type of on-demand video service actually can consume quite a bit of bandwidth, right? A 4K HDR stream can be taking 50, 60 megabits consistently, right? That's actually a lot more than a game, but it can buffer. Where a game can't buffer, right? It has to be consistently essentially refreshed because it's all about latency, right? So that's where there's some differences are. Okay. Yep. Yes, it can prioritize this. So any one of our gaming routers, and actually a lot of our gaming routers also all offer essentially what is called quality of service options. So that's an option that you can toggle on within the Asus Router App, which is an application you can download for iOS or Android, or you can do it inside the web-based interface. You can toggle it on, and you can then not only prioritize your system, but you can also prioritize the packets. And for the packet prioritization, we give you a wide range of options. You can prioritize everything from web browsing to streaming to gaming to even things like work from home or learn from home applications. So like if you're doing a lot of things on, Google Meet or Facebook Messenger or Zoom, Slack or Microsoft Teams, you can actually optimize those applications to also receive better latency. Okay. All right. So let me just see right here. You're looking for a new computer build with a 3800X, and I'm going to do actually a Core i9 12900K. Do you have a motherboard for it? Yeah, I mean, there's so many different options on there. I would recommend checking out our Asus Z690 AMA, where I deep dive into our entire series of Z690 series motherboards. But probably my overall recommendation is probably going to be I think I moved some of the motherboards that I had right here. It's probably going to be the ROG Strix Z690-A, and we're actually going to be coming out with a DDR5 version, but you can get it in both DDR4 and DDR5. I really like that board. It's a fantastic option. If you want something a little bit, higher end that has even some more features and functions, then definitely, take a look at the ROG Strix or the ROG Maximus series line. But really, any one of the boards you can't go wrong with, whether it's in the Tough Gaming series, the ProArt series, the Prime series, the ROG Strix, or the ROG Maximus series. And that AMA guide will pretty much dive into all the different series for you. Okay. Hey, Connor. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic mouse, especially for the price point. I think it's a really good option. Okay. Let me see. Cooling differences. David's asking about the cooling differences between the Noctua and the Asus RGB fans. Technically, I would say probably the peak performance is going to be a little bit better probably on Noctua, and that's ultimately because a little bit in terms of the peak higher RPM. In terms of the relative performance, it's actually going to probably be almost comparable. A lot of people actually will I would say mistakenly try to compare fans. And the reason why I say they mistakenly try to compare them is that they'll take RPM values or static pressure values or other types of values that are communicated by the fan. But the important thing is that all those fan values are generally defined for when the fan is operating at 100%. The reality is that you don't run your fans at 100%. Most people are generally going to target your fan probably somewhere between about 800 to 1200 RPM. Now, while generally non-RGB fans have higher levels of performance, both in terms of static pressure as well as maximum RPM, the thing is actually more important is how does the fan operating in terms of static pressure, CFM, and even tone, right? The tonality of the fan in what I generally refer to as what's called the sweet spot, that 800 to 1200, maybe even 1400 RPM if you're maybe a little bit more aggressive in terms of your fan curve, right? That's what's going to be important. And I can tell you there, we did spend a lot of time to optimize the overall kind of performance of the Strix ARGB fan that we have. It's the same fan that we use on the Strix LC series, and you'll see that lots of people have had very good experience in terms of the overall cooling performance there. So I think, it's not like you're talking about that there's going to be a massive delta between the two. I think it's just more so that we've seen a large amount of community feedback from users that they were swapping the fans, even though Noctua fans are fantastic, those IPPC fans, and they just wanted an RGB. So here, instead of having to buy the Ryugen and then swap the fans, they now get ARGB fans included. So hopefully, that answers your question right there. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and keep moving this along. So first things first, let me see what we're going to first into. I think probably the first product. Actually, let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and drop all the products that we're going to talk about here into the chat. And why don't you guys tell me which product you guys want to have talked about first? Okay. I think we'll do that. We're going to do a community consensus. All right. So this is everything that we've got to jump into here. I think while everybody decides, maybe I'm just going to go ahead and pick one really exciting product that I want to talk about first, and that's going to be the Asus IPMI expansion card. So this is a really, really interesting product that we've actually been working on for some time. And it's going to, I think, offer a lot of you a very interesting level of functionality that isn't something that you normally have in terms of kind of feature set outside of our kind of professional workstation series of motherboards. So let me go ahead and bring this up here. I will show you what I'm talking about, and we'll kind of get this moving. So what I'm talking about here is the Asus IPMI card. And what this essentially is what's called an out-of-band management card. And what we mean by out-of-band essentially is that when you're talking about hardware level control for a system, most of you are familiar with the UEFI BIOS, right? You would hit your delete key or you'd use the command prompt interface, boot into the UEFI, and that's how you would have low-level access to a system. But on a workstation, you can actually have the network card essentially have direct low-level access to the hardware, where you can actually have monitoring of system, let's say CPU temperature, your fans, power supply voltages. You can actually turn off the system. You could even potentially remotely update the UEFI. It is designed kind of for these more specialized workspace scenarios. And what we've seen is that some enthusiasts would kind of want to have this type of functionality. Now, on our ProArt series of motherboards, we have enabled essentially network controllers that have given you this type of out-of-band management. But on traditional motherboards, this has not been an option without putting in a much more expensive and kind of complex level of hardware directly on the motherboard. And since most users don't need this, there's not necessarily the reason to add this to every single motherboard. But what, as I've noted, we do have is that we have interest from users that essentially have said, is there some way that you could introduce out-of-band management? And that's what we have done. So let me show you what we got right here with this cool new accessory, which is our Asus IPMI card. So this is going to be the card right here. You'll actually be able to install this on the motherboard, right? So we'll go into a PCI Express slot. We'll have a cable that will connect to a corresponding header that will be on the motherboard. You'll actually see right here that then you have 8 fan headers, and the 8 fan headers would actually allow you to then have direct hardware level control. Now, keep in mind that if you wanted this type of out-of-band control, then it would have to be connected to the card and not necessarily to the motherboard. So there's a little bit of a difference there. You can see here's the header that I'm referring to, that this will connect from the card then to the motherboard. Then there's the supplemental power. And these are optional temp sensors, so that if you essentially want some auxiliary level of monitoring in terms of kind of temperatures or things like that, you can do that. There's even some Rgb lighting support here in terms of kind of wiring some items in there. So some interesting stuff there, right? There's, of course, the network jack to be able to facilitate this over. And this will actually give you 2 web interfaces. You'll actually have what traditionally isn't always available in terms of out-of-band, which would be like a web-based interface, and then there'll be a direct dial-in interface. So you actually have 2 different options. And we have an extreme level of experience with this because, like I said, we've been working with BMC and kind of out-of-band management in terms of our workstation and server series products for decades, right? But now, essentially, we're able to now offer this, interestingly enough, like I said, to the enthusiast and more general consumer with a select series of motherboards where this will be compatible. So this will be the expansion card. It's pretty straightforward. Let me go ahead and actually show you some of the base motherboards that we will have this essentially be initially compatible with. It is important to keep in mind that this card will require UEFI interoperability. So there will have to be a specific UEFI that's in place to be able to allow you to support this function. Hey, Mike, will Asus keep making Z590 series? We always end up still kind of having a certain what's called kind of crossover period between kind of an older chipset to a newer chipset. But eventually we do begin to kind of truncate the overall chipset lineup, and then probably generally focus on where we have a lot of volume that still is being presently kind of asked for from whether maybe it's certain communities, whether it's certain kind of development partners. There can be a lot of different reasons why we have certain models that might still have a production focus. But I would generally say that usually after about an 8 to about 14-month period, you usually will see most of those motherboards generally disappear, and then only the new chipset be available. So right now, you'll still probably see, like I said, a small select amount of Z590 for a little while. But it's not necessarily going to be indefinitely, right? But as of right now, there still will concurrently be some Z590 based solutions that will have still available and that are being produced alongside Z690 series based motherboards. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you here the kind of the web interface, and you can see kind of what you would be able to access for this card. So you'll see right here that you have the web console that you would have available, and then also the direct tool. And you can see right there, you can actually have tons of different information that's broken down to you right here. So where you can actually see kind of the uptime information, you can see the corresponding temperature, you can see the fans that are connected. All this information is kind of presented to you and broken down. And again, you have the ability, you can power off, you can restart the system. You have essentially low-level access directly to the motherboard is available to you. Yes, this is specifically, like I said, using kind of the enterprise level kind of design that we've established on professional workstations and servers, and then we're bringing it over to the motherboard. Yeah. But keep in mind, like I said, this will only work with Asus-based motherboards. So if you have another motherboard, sorry, you didn't buy an Asus board, it's not compatible. And two, it will require specific boards that support the header as well as the UEFI update that does have to be released for it. Okay. You can see right here that you've got kind of that sensor readout information where you can see that you can register kind of information regarding the kind of the power supply, the CPU temperature. All this is read out to you. So if you want to have access to that information, you can have it remotely, which is pretty nice. Here you can see, of course, remember where all you have those different fan headers. You can customize fan curve targets if you want to do that. So you still have granularity and control over how you want to be able to set that up. Here you can see, of course, different types of options: power on, power off, power cycle, hide reset. All those are available to you. So it's a very rich and robust level of functionality. And again, this is normally would be only something that would be available to you on, like I said, a professional workstation series motherboard. Okay. So as of right now, the initial compatibility matrix you'll see is going to be on Z690 series motherboards. So the Z690-F, the Extreme Glacial, Pro Series, WS Series motherboards, right? The X570 Creator and X570-E and -E Gaming, okay? Now, whether or not we will have more models, you know, make sure to keep it tuned. We are kind of testing the waters here to be able to see what kind of the community kind of response and feedback will be for this type of product. So again, this is going to be our IPMI remote access card. So let me go ahead and show that to you just one last time, and we will get ready to move this along to the next product. All right, so that is the IPMI expansion card. Pretty cool. I think a pretty exciting option. So with that, let's go ahead and see. All right, guys, from that list that we have in there, what do we think that we want to go ahead and jump into? We've got a lot of different items that we can talk about. So we've got the Tough Gaming capture box. We've got the BE24 monitor. We've got the PA portable monitor. We actually have two different PA portable monitors. We have the PA ultra-wide monitor that we can jump into. We've got two different MB series portable monitors, and then a Zen Wi-Fi Pro Mesh series solution, which is pretty awesome. We've got two new mini PCs, and we have the USB AX56, and then lastly, the brand new ZenBeam E2, which is a really cool, ultra compact, portable projector, which actually has an integrated battery. So let's go ahead and leave it open for a couple of seconds, and we'll see what do we want to go ahead and jump into. Feel free to go ahead and let me know in the chat what we want to jump into. If not, I will go ahead and pick the product. I think I'm probably going to jump into the ProArt 348 CGV, which is going to be our newest update in terms of our large ProArt series monitors. And this is going to be for our kind of content creators out there. So people that are into videography, you know, audio edit, DAW, right? It could be photography, it could be any number of different types of kind of content creation workflows, animation, architecture, even science and simulation. I mean, really the focus here is going to be rich connectivity along with high degree of color accuracy, right? All right, let's go ahead. And Connor says ultra monitor, ultra wide. So let's go ahead and jump into it here and talk a little bit about this guy. Okay, so let me go ahead and get our picture up here for the PA series display. That is going to be PA. Here we go. All right. And I will drop a link in the chat for everybody as well. So if you guys want to check this guy out, you can check it out. So give me 1 second here, and we will also take a look at it there. So right here, this is going to be a 3440 by 1440 based ultra wide monitor. It's going to, of course, be an IPS based display. And it is also going to feature, of course, it being what we call the CVG series, means that you have the clamp-based design, but you also have the stand. So you're going to have two levels of essentially options in terms of mounting it. So you have a lot of flexibility there. Outstanding color accuracy where it's going to come out of the box pre-calibrated for low delta E. You don't have to essentially worry about calibrating it. But if you even want to calibrate it further, you can probably even get tighter than that. And one of the other big things that a lot of people don't realize is kind of a distinguishing element on the ProArt series monitors is going to be what's called a 6-color access control. So Traditionally, in most monitors, you only have 3 colors in terms of access control, but on a ProArt series display, you're going to have 6 color access control. So this allows you to just be a little bit more targeted and precise in terms of kind of really dialing in and making sure that things hit where you'd like them to be in terms of kind of color tone. And this can be beneficial also in terms of just aligning with kind of certain tendencies that certain types of equipment can have, maybe your workflow tendencies. There can be different variables as to why you might want to have that. The other thing too is going to be rich level of connectivity. So let me go ahead and bring up our little article that we've got here that we also have for this display. And this will break down a lot of kind of the core specifications information here too. I will drop that in the chat. So second there. Okay, and let's take a look right here. All right. Give me 1 second right here. And there we go. Okay. So here you can see that we've got a nice little write-up on the Edge Up Waste website, which is our kind of content blog that gives you guys a quick kind of breakdown of different things. So you can see already, as I noted, 34 inches, 34 by 40, excuse me, 34 by 40, 1440 resolution, right? 21 by 9 aspect ratio, which I already noted. The outstanding delta E value of less than 2. Right, 98% coverage in terms of the Cinema DCI-P3 color gamut, which is outstanding. So that means this is going to really easily cover pretty much any type of general color workflow that's going to be very critical. So great for photography editing and great for video editing, 3D modeling, animation work, pretty much anything where you're going to have to kind of be very sensitive and critical in terms of color. Or for me, sometimes I just like really having very accurate color, right? A lot of I/O is always going to be a key aspect too on these series monitors. So this is going to include your display port, 2 HDMI ports. There's also a USB-C port that is on there that also supports display alt mode. Essentially what display alt mode means is that the USB-C port will also handle display port signal. So this can be beneficial if you're going to run this out of, let's say, like a laptop, a phone or tablet or something that might be using USB-C, and it will use that USB-C out for display output. That same connection can also provide actually power up to 90 watts. So that can be great for kind of integrating it into different types of scenarios where you might need that power delivery option, whether that, again, could be beneficial for a laptop or different types of items that could benefit from that power delivery. And then, of course, you've got your integrated OSD controls for pretty much all of the advanced Asus ProArt palette and preset options there, right? So that is going to be a 34-inch display, and that's going to be coming in the not too distant future. But it's going to help to kind of refill back out a little bit of a hole that we had within the ProArt series where we didn't have an updated ultra-wide in terms of that 29 aspect ratio, where we had recently updated, where we had the 27-inch, and of course we have the larger 32-inch, but we didn't necessarily have this aspect ratio filled in. So this one is now dropped in there. Eve, sorry, Eve, I'm not sure if I caught your question, but if you want, feel free to go ahead and drop in your question again, and we'll get ready to go ahead and jump into that. So next, let's get ready to jump maybe into the Tough Gaming Capture Card. What do you guys think? Tough Gaming Capture Card sound good? Actually, it's the Tough Gaming Capture Box, right? So some of you may remember that we did launch last year the original Tough Gaming Capture Box. But that model, while it definitely offered, I think, a really solid sweet spot in terms of the overall specifications, did not essentially support up to that 120 hertz that some users wanted to be able to have access to when you're talking about full HD. It did give you, of course, 4K pass-through. So here, this is what this model is going to be bringing to the table, is essentially a focus on that high refresh rate support. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the Tough Gaming Capture Box. So this is going to be the unit right here. So this will essentially be, you can see right there, 4K UHD pass-through. It will support up to 120 FPS full HD video capture. It has onboard scaling, which is fantastic, either up or down. USB-C connectivity, headset jack connectivity, up to for 2, which is nice. console party chat, and a low latency optimized base design. The actual lighting on here is actually ARGB, and it does actually serve functionality, and I'll show you some cool ways that we're actually giving you, I think, essentially additional information through the lighting. So it's not just there for a cool kind of design aesthetic, but it does actually serve some functionality. This is made of a premium metal-based casing, so very durable, very reliable. We have actually done a lot of extensive testing in terms of the temperature rating performance. It's quite a bit higher than a lot of other capture cards boxes that are out there on the market. So really kind of spent time to reinforce the long-term reliability, especially with streaming based setups like this, where they can be running hours upon hours upon hours, maybe in a cramped environment, stuffed inside of a corner somewhere. You really want to ensure kind of a long-term reliability, right? So you can see your connections right there, right? On the rear, right, your HDMI in, your HDMI out, then USB 3.2 Type-C based connectivity right there. Here you can see it in a little bit of a usage scenario setup. Looks great. And let me go ahead and show you how the actual RGB lighting works. So give me 1 second here to open this up. I will drop this also in the chat for you guys. And give me 1 second here. Okay, so let's take a look here. And here we go. And drop this in the chat. So if anybody wants to take a look at this page, you can do that. So if we take a look right here, this again is a quick recap, pass through 60 hertz up to 4K, right? 2K, 60 hertz, and then of course 120 full HD, and then you can capture 120, right? Full HD, 1080p, or 60 at 720, right? Fully certified for OBS, which is what the majority of people are going to be using in terms of probably the software, but it does actually work with other types of devices. This actually does support what's called UVC compliance, which means that this is essentially kind of seen as a pass-through based hardware device, which is great because if you also wanted to connect something like a mirrorless camera and then use like your mirrorless camera in like a web-based application, so you want to use it like in Facebook Messenger, you want to use it in Microsoft Teams and Zoom chat, anything like that, you can also use this for. So it's not just for that game capture, so it can serve some actually additional functionality and flexibility, right? So here's the onboard scaling support. With an onboard scaler, you'll see the Tough Gaming Box can automatically sync streaming resolution with input and resolution, right? So this is a nice feature. The upscaling support right here is up to 1080p. The UVC, which I talked about, which essentially allows you to have this device be passively recognized with no drivers. And then here, we've now updated to actually have a large array of management options within the Armor Crate software when this is connected. So you see right here that you have device status light effects. So you can have like the standby mode, working mode, HDMI cable detected. Essentially, these are all registered in there. You can also go in and make an adjustments here to the audio levels, headset levels, and HDCP detection, which is pretty cool. And so you'll see right here in terms of the default lighting effects, there's, it's in standby mode, right? USB 3.2 versus USB 2. This is important because the best performance is going to come in USB 3.2. Some people don't realize there's differences in terms of the speeds in their ports. And so having a quick kind of reference for the lighting will help you to know the difference between that 3.2 and that that 3.2 and that 2.0 port, right? Here you've got kind of that general lighting mode, which is cool, right? You can turn those off, sequence those forward. Here, HDCP, it's nice to know that it's being registered and correctly detected. If there's a signal interruption in terms of the HDMI, something is just having a problem, you can immediately know that. So you could be referencing that. So again, you could go check your cables. Maybe there's some type of software overlay issue. Maybe something's causing a problem. This is going to help you to know that you have an issue, right? You can see right here, there's an abnormality again in the detected signal, and then even also sequencing there for when the firmware is updating. So that's pretty cool in terms of the LED lighting having built-in essentially functionality as opposed to just purely being there for like a cool design aesthetic. So this will be the latest addition that we're going to have in terms of the capture boxes that we've got. So we've got the CUK430, and now we're going to have the FHD 120. So two different gaming card capture boxes. This guy will be coming in the not too distant future. And I know people have asked about, are you guys going to have an ROG solution? And while I can't tell you anything about that, we definitely do have some ROG let's say, streaming capture type devices under design and development. Nothing to talk about specifically in terms of the specifications, but there will be something coming in the not too distant future. Okay. Well, I don't know if in the not too distant future, just that it will be coming right here. Okay. Let me go ahead and see any questions right there. Is the DVI and HDMI pass through without? Yeah. So we do actually do a lot of testing in terms of measuring that latency analysis, right? So we have designed this optimally specifically for streaming purposes. So the reason why that can be important is that because sometimes when you implement certain types of kind of hardware designs, which actually might apply any type of post-processing or things like that, they introduce latency. And that's what you don't want to actually have happen when you're actually connecting something specifically that is designed for streaming. So you actually want to try to have the lowest level possible, right? So this has been optimized in terms of carefully measuring signal analysis through high-speed USB buses and specifically designed for essentially these capture purposes. So this is going to be really well suited, again, for people that are looking for a high quality, low latency gaming capture experience, right? All right, so that is going to cover us there for the Tough Gaming capture box. So next up, what do you guys think? You want the BE series monitor, or do we want to do the new two ProArt series portable displays? These are going to be pretty cool. One is going to be an IPS based display, and the other one is actually going to be an OLED based display. So they're both very interesting. One, like I said, is a 15.6 4K OLED, and the other one's going to be a 15.46 15.6 4K IPS Wacom ESR portable display. So two very cool displays. What do you guys think? BE display, or do we want to do the two portable ProArt displays? Yep, thanks. These are two fantastic keyboards. This one's right here, the ROG Strix Scope Moonlight White Edition, which also comes with a brand new ROG NX-based switches. And this one right here is the ROG Falchion. This is our ultra compact, of course, keyboard, wireless or wired, but I've got putting keycaps on here. So I replaced the keycaps. So it doesn't default have these keycaps on there. I just swapped them out. Okay, portable. Looks like Mike says let's do the portable displays. Okay, let's go ahead and get ready to jump into that. So let me go ahead and bring these guys up here. So let's see. We're first going to do, I think, probably the PA. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this one right here. All right, so this is going to be a pretty interesting display, and I'll also bring the article up for this guy. You guys can check this one out. So give me 1 second here to drop this in the chat here. Are you streaming from that? No, actually, I don't have a sample of that card, but hopefully I will have a sample of that in the not too distant future. We will go ahead and maybe that actually might make a cool stream, right? One of the next streams actually utilize it, right? So right here, this is going to be this. It's going to be the brand new Asus PA16DC. All right, so this is going to be one of our brand new ProArt series displays. So we haven't had too many ProArt series displays. The first one was actually one that I really loved, the PA14, which actually had the integrated Asus dial, had integrated a lot of functionality. It was really well suited for people that were looking kind of for videography, photography work, also wanted actually touch input level control. And so we've kind of been expanding some of these portable displays for people that are looking for kind of color critical based portable monitors. So here, the big thing that you're going to get with this model is this is going to be implementing OLED technology. So you're going to have that outstanding contrast, right? Super deep blacks, right? Outstanding color accuracy right here, and 4K. So this is going to be 4K, 10-bit, cover 100% of the DCI-P spectrum. It's factory calibrated. The target will be less than a Delta E1. So outstanding, super high quality color accuracy right there. That's going to be built into this unit. And It's also going to be, believe we're targeting, yes, a rating for display HDR True Black 400 specification in terms of that, and then 15.6 inches. So this is going to be a native USB-C based connection. You'll also see that all the actual kind of odd screen toggle buttons right here are directly accessible at the front to make it very easy, because if this is a portable display, whether you kind of want to have this on the side of your desktop setup, or if you wanted to have this more in a mobile kind of orientation, whatever it might be, you want to be able to have quick access to those, but also not necessarily have these be kind of too obstructive, right, in terms of kind of their visual design aesthetic. But this is going to be complementary with kind of the simplicity of also having a Type-C cable that will allow you to go ahead and power the unit and offer the display signaling support. The display will also feature, I think, yeah, an HDMI port as well as a USB-C pass-through support. So you've got a lot of flexibility that will be offered on this display right here. And let me see, do I have the secondary image for this guy? Let me see if I can bring it up here. Oh yeah, I can bring this up right here. And so this is the article I went ahead and share with you guys. It gives you a quick recap of the information, but you can see right here, right? There's the front, there's the back, but this will be at 15.6 inch, right? OLED 4K based display. So this is going to be the first of the ProArt series based displays that we're going to be talking about. And then our second one is going to be the ProArt PA 169 CDV. And so the difference here is going to be that we move over to a traditional kind of IPS based display, but this model is going to essentially offer you pen support. So if you essentially want the flexibility of not only having color accurate based display, more flexibility in terms of kind of where it can be positioned, 10-point touch along with input stylus, I really think this is going to be super interesting. So this kind of gives you a quick recap of all of the different kind of specification support that you can see on here. This model is going to be 15.6 inches, 4K, 100% coverage in terms of Rec 709 sRGB, verified Delta below 2 in terms of the color accuracy, 2 different options in terms of the kickstand, HDMI, USB-C, 10-point touch. Now, the cool thing that I like about this, about having touch along with the stylus support, right, the pen, is going to be is that this could really actually offer you a nice level of flexibility that if you have this as a secondary monitor by your primary kind of desktop setup, you could use this to swipe through images, you could use pinch, you could zoom, you could make kind of quick edits, you could jot down notes, so then you could transfer both into your Office documents or maybe in web-based applications like Evernote, Google Keep, Office 365, whatever it might be in a lot of those type of scenarios. So I really like the flexibility of having a display that gives you not only actually a secondary display option, right, where you could have stat information be read out there, or imagine you could have like AIDA64 stat panel default, just give you kind of a cool small consolidated readout, but then you could then switch over to it, use the actual pen, actually take down notes. Then you could even have touch for swiping through different things and then swipe that to your larger display, right? There's a lot of nice flexibility that you have available to you with this type of monitor offering, right? So let me see right here. Here you can see it's got a nice kind of cool integrated option right here for the Asus pen. It will be there. You can also see that this model does have the dial support implemented, which is cool, right? You can also then see the connectivity options like I was talking about, right? Where you can see you've got your HDMI, you got your USB-C, which also supports display alt support. One thing you might not clearly notice right here, but this model does actually have an integrated tripod mount. So you'll see this on a lot of the portable monitors that we're going to be talking about. So this gives you the flexibility if you want to add this to some type of like tripod or some type of mount. It's very easy to be able to adapt that and add that to it. And that is going to be the PACDV. Let me go ahead and see if we got any questions that might have come up between those two monitors before we get ready to jump into our next monitor. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to check your guys' comments. Any chance of getting Memtest integrated? At this time, no, Zach. Agisa's and the Uefi are very different between AMD and Intel-based solutions. It is something that we're evaluating for the future, but at this time, I would say no, don't have any expectation to see that you're going to have memtest integration on any of the AMD solutions at this time. So as of right now, that is a feature that's exclusive to our Intel series of motherboards, okay? C33 GTX, definitely, man. We've got a large amount of keyboards. So definitely check them out. So hopefully you do end up switching over to an Asus keyboard in the future. All right. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any questions right there on the on that monitor. Now, as far as kind of overall availability, kind of time frame, those are going to kind of vary in terms of the resident time frame. So as always, the best thing you can do is kind of make sure to keep it tuned to the PC DIY Facebook group, and we'll go ahead and give you guys corresponding kind of updates once we have that information available. And there also will be the PC DIY calendar, with the release calendar, and hopefully I'll have that updated in the not too distant future to give you a little bit more details as we kind of get a little bit closer to when we are going to end up being releasing that display. So though one other thing that I did want to note though on that monitor is that it does actually come with the kickstand, which allows you to actually kind of have dual level orientation, where you can have it kind of in that more portrait orientation, right? Or you can have it kind of more angled orientation where you're taking notes. So that kind of dual level of flexibility gives you a nice level of adjustment option that's inherently built into the display, which is very nice, right? All right, so that covers us there. Let's get ready to jump into our next product here. So you see right here, we've gone through the IPMI expansion card, the Tough Gaming capture box. Let's go ahead and talk about this guy, the BE series monitor. This is a pretty cool kind of design here. We'll make this pretty quick here. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. This is from our more business series lineup, but for a lot of you, this could still be a very nice kind of flexible based monitor in terms of its overall kind of core functionality. We already released a 27-inch version of this that was also higher resolution. This one is going to be the 1920 model. So this is a full HD, 23.8 inches. But the big thing that you're going to have on this model is going to be that it integrates an actual high quality 2 megapixel camera on here. So you'll actually have a camera that's built onto this unit right here, and it does actually support a privacy shutter, which you can toggle on and off. You can also go ahead and adjust this, so you can swivel it, you can angle it, you can go ahead and make adjustments to be able to go ahead and more easily, get everything positioned in frame if you want to be able to do online voice chats, meetings, things along those lines, which is really nice. But in this overall design, the other thing too is that it's kind of all integrated, right? You've got integrated 2-watt speakers that are also in here, and there's also hardware level controls. So this is cool too, because these can actually be functional with certain types of applications. So you can actually immediately kind of pick up a call, you can adjust the volume, you can drop the call. You have different levels of functions that are built in. So it is kind of very well suited to not only just be a traditional monitor, but really be actually well suited that if you're in a situation where you're constantly kind of in meetings, taking different types of calls, things along those lines, then this can be a very useful type of display. Maybe you've got friends and family that you want to be able to reach out to, and you want to simplify kind of their desk setup and kind of experience. This monitor kind of has that all integrated in there. Now, if we take a look in the back here, you'll also see some nice things that we've done. This display will also right here integrate 2 USB right angle based connections, which is great for different types of items, like quickly attaching like a flash drive or something like that, as opposed to trying to find it on the underside. You'll also see that the actual power output, one to support higher speed amperage, a higher level amperage, so 1.5 amps versus the traditional 0.9. That can be beneficial for quick charging devices, essentially getting a little bit more if you want to connect something like a phone to be able to charge that. You've got a headphone jack out there. You've got your primary connectivity there. You can also see right there a USB-C high power output connection, right? Up to 4 amps. That's fantastic, along with the USB-C hub functionality too. So you do have a lot of different options there. This does support VESA mount support, and of course, ergonomic based adjustment options, right? So all built in there. You can see right there where I was talking about the hardware privacy. The microphone is built into this as well. You can also see right here the adjustment options in terms of being able to kind of bring the unit up and down, which is going to be very convenient, very nice. Now, this one doesn't, here, let me actually bring up the larger version right here. And so these are pretty much the same, except type of design, right? Except one, like I said, is going to be the 24-inch, and one's the 27-inch, one's HD, and one's 1440p. But you can see right here the mechanics at place, right? Sliding lens cover, the tilt, and the swivel, the automatic face exposure that we have there with the integrated camera. This is also cool here, the AI noise canceling functionality, which is built in. So most people that have a microphone don't have any type of noise canceling there. So this is great if you've got a dog barking, you've got HVAC running, you've got different things going on. It's built in there. It's hardware based. There's a chip that actually does the machine learning, essentially recognition, and then we'll filter that out. So that is all built in on the fly. There you can see the actual video shortcut buttons that I talked about right there, right? So volume up and down, microphone on and off. You can quickly toggle that, right? You can answer the calls, power, and then a 5-way navigation, and then also the AI mic hotkey, right, to be able to disable it. And then for that USB-C, right, you can see they have up to 80 watts of power delivery that are supported, as well as that USB hub functionality, which is nice because essentially you can have that plugged in there, right, and then that device can essentially pass that over right there. So you can see HDMI DisplayPort, USB-C DisplayPort, USB-C USB hub, and then your earphone or line out connection, right? So that is going to be the 27-inch version. And then as I showed you right here, the one that we announced right now is going to be then the 24-inch version. I think this is definitely a cool addition right here. Let me see right there. Hey, Remy's asking, will there be an ROG Swift 360 hertz 4K? You know, definitely, like I said, we don't talk about anything that we have under design and development. It might be coming at a later point. If you check a look at last week's live stream, we talked about all the brand new ROG Swift displays that we announced at CES, including the brand new 360 hertz 1440p based display. So the PG279 AQN, I believe, right? Also, of course, the PG32UQXE, which is also going to be, of course, even a higher refresh rate, 4K. But keep in mind that as you move up in resolution, it becomes significantly more challenging to add essentially an increase in refresh rate, right? There's a lot of different elements to it. It's not purely just like just throw a panel on there, right? You have to handle a lot of different aspects in terms of the variable driving strength, motion clarity based processing. There's a lot of different aspects that kind of go into adding refresh rate along with resolution. And then you also have to factor that in if you're doing things with backlighting technologies that can play into this as well. So, you know, Asus has really been at the forefront of the fastest displays on the market consistently. So we're going to continue to offer that as being a benchmark focus for us, especially in terms of the Swift lineup. But, you know, nothing new to announce outside of what we just announced last week. So if you want to find out about those, just make sure to check out last week's stream. This right here, hey Mark, if you're wondering about this cooler, this is the ROG Ryugen 2. So this is one of our newest high-end AIO units. So it's a 3.5-inch display. This is a magnetic actually cap that can be removed. You can actually orient it in two directions, and then has an integrated VRM assist fan that cools the surrounding area. And the default model comes with Noctua IPPC-based fans, and then it also has a included fan and ARGB controller. But the other cool thing too is this also comes with a 1-year licensed version of AIDA64, so you can have multiple levels of kind of stat readout information. So you can put your own kind of images, you can put your own animation, you can actually have a slideshow, you can do a lot of different stuff. But very, very cool. Yes, 2 megapixels, so it is much higher quality webcam than what you traditionally have compared to most options. And the privacy switch is a hardware switch on that. Yes. It does not fully disable the camera, but it will, of course, be a privacy-based switch. Okay. Okay, so that is going to cover us there for the BE series monitor. So let's see what we've gotten here. We went ahead and we talked about the Tough Gaming Capture Box, the BE series monitor, the ProArt PA16DC portable display, the ProArt PA16, 169 CDV portable display, the ProArt PA384 CGV ultra wide monitor. So let's go ahead and talk about, I think, MiniPC. MiniPC, these are 2 really cool new MiniPCs, and then maybe ZenWiFi. I think that unit looks pretty sweet. So let me go ahead and bring up the images here for the mini PC. Do I have it over here? I only have one image for this mini PC, so yep, here it is. Okay. All right, so let me get, I got it up here. Here we go. All right, so this is going to be for the PN64 and also for the PN52. All right. So these are going to be our latest updates to our mini PC series of products. So we did do a recent stream on these guys because we updated them not too long ago. But the really exciting thing right here is for the PN64. This is going to be now upgraded to the latest generation Intel 12th Gen series CPUs. And then for the PN52, we're going to be upgrading to still the Ryzen 5000 series CPUs, but the new update is going to be for the 35-watt versions. So for this 12th gen series part, it's going to be really impressive because you're going to have ultra high speed connectivity. You're going to have Thunderbolt connectivity. You're going to have 2.5 gigabit LAN. You're going to have Wi-Fi 6E. It's really going to be a stacked unit, and you're going to also have a great deal of flexibility in terms of storage, right? So you're going to be able to have a PCIe NVMe support, as well as, of course, traditional SATA. And then for the PN52 is going to give you pretty much almost the same level of specification support, very, very rich in terms of its overall kind of specification support, but it will have even a little bit more storage, where I believe this one will have 3 drives that will be supported. Let me double check that. I think it's going to be, yes, 2 22 up to 2280 M.2 PCIe NVMe SSDs, as well as that 2.5-inch base SATA SSD. So you're going to have a lot of rich connectivity that will be available to you there. So again, this is going to be the mini PC PN52. And again, if you're kind of wondering here, the performance you're talking about is really, really impressive in terms of what is going to be possible with these units, right? Keep in mind already with the PN prior generation than the 52, that model was already giving you up to where the highest end model was going to be an 8-core, 16-thread part, right? Which was quite impressive to be able to have in a unit that was literally this compact, right? And that unit had a little bit lower TDP, but still very impressive performance. And now we're going to even be going up to a higher level in terms of 35 watts. And for the 12th gen parts, those are going to be really high performance, outstanding performance. And then you're also going to make that update to that XE graphics architecture that Intel brings in. So these are going to be very, very capable. But keep in mind, all these units will be able to support multiple display output configurations. Up to 4 displays can be actually arranged on these units. So very, very rich and capable in terms of, setting this up to be, an emulation box, VM box, coding platform, small everyday productivity system. They can really be used in so many different ways, but be very powerful, compact, power efficient, right? And bare bone customizable. So pretty much the way that we work within these mini PC models will be that you just pick the essential model that you're interested in terms of kind of the CPU configuration, right? How many cores, how many threads you want to have, and then you'll add in your memory and you'll add in your storage. But things like the networking, the USB, the IO, all of those specifications are going to be integrated within the unit, okay? Okay, so that answers that in terms of the PN64 and the PN52. Okay, so if you guys have any questions right then, again, feel free to let me know. These are going to be the latest generation mini PC units, and these are going to be coming probably in the Q2 timeframe. So again, this one will be powered by Intel 12th Gen series CPU, and this one will be Ryzen 5000 series CPU, but 35-watt base series CPU. So up to 3 drives internally here, up to 2 drives internally here. This one is also going to be supporting Thunderbolt, 2.5 gigabit LAN on both of them, and then Wi-Fi 6E along with Bluetooth 5.0 specification support. So very, very feature rich in terms of their overall connectivity and performance. All right, so let me go ahead and get ready to jump into our next unit here. Does anyone know if the Asus, let me see right here, Dual's got a question right here. So Dual Mitchell, does anyone know if the Asus ROG Ryugen 2 will fit on an ROG Strix Z690-i Mini ITX motherboard? That's a good question. I would actually have to check with our mechanical conflict team. Don't see why it wouldn't actually be able to fit. So the Z690-I, where you have a little bit more of a tighter tolerance to the right-hand side, because we've actually changed the orientation of where the actual cables are. They loop directly underneath. So you actually have that spacing there. I don't see why that would be an issue in terms of still being able to mount that. Although realistically, I don't know that it makes sense, right? I mean, if you're talking about the Z690-I, it's a mini ITX board, so it's going to go into a small form factor chassis. Most small form factor chassis generally only support up usually to a 240 millimeter AIO. So I think a more sensible choice would be something like the Tough Gaming, the Tough Gaming LC240 or the ROG Strix LC2 240, because both of those just have a compact, small profile pump head, right? Which is going to fit very easily in terms of an AIO. The benefit that, of course, I would say is that you do, of course, have that VRM assist fan. So that fan will provide some additional circulative airflow to the VRM. But the VRM is so solid on the Dash I, right? It's got a really large heatsink, and the power stages are already very electrically efficient, that I don't know that necessarily you really need it, because you could literally run that with literally no airflow, and it's not like the VRM is going to overheat. So it's not really like a limiting factor, but if you wanted to have it as a plus point and you at least had visibility, then you might be. But if you want, feel free to just go ahead and send me an email, pcdiy@asus.com, and I can see if I can double check with our mechanical conflict team and see if we can confirm for you that there's no obstruction issues in terms of that. Okay. All right, so let's get ready to jump into the next product, which is going to be the Zen Wi-Fi Pro Et12. So this is a pretty awesome TriBand based mesh system. So, and what I mean by mesh system is that compared to most of the routers that we've talked about, right, this is going to be a little bit different, because it's going to kind of offer you a whole nother kind of level of kind of performance, because this unit is essentially going to be a mesh networking focused unit, right? So let's go ahead and take a look right here. So this is going to be the ET12, and you'll see that you get two essentially within a pack, right? Because this is a mesh unit. So pretty much all of our Wi-Fi 6 routers right now already support what's called Asus AI Mesh. So they're very high performing singular routers. And then if you want to create your own mesh network, you could pair that with another router and then make your own mesh network. The benefit inherently generally with mesh is that it can provide even greater coverage. And I generally will say that it's most beneficial in very large or multi-story based configurations. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to kind of a mesh-based environment. We've actually found in our analysis and testing, probably in 85% of cases, even with large homes, even floor homes that have kind of two-story environments, one single router can cover the home. So take, for instance, my home, I have a little bit larger than 2,800 square foot home, 2 stories. I have one single router. I have one of our Rapture routers, and I can cover the top floor and the bottom floor. I can cover the front of the house, right? And I can even cover a portion of the backyard. If I want to have full coverage of the backyard through Wi-Fi, then that's potentially where having a media bridge or having a secondary node for a mesh would be beneficial. But it's not necessarily required to cover the entirety of my house. So it really kind of depends. The other point too that I would make of kind of just talking about where mesh can be valuable is going to be when you talk about kind of Wi-Fi in general. It's important to keep in mind that your wireless performance will go down, right, the further that you get away from the primary essentially node, right? So if right here, let's say this was my node and I was then 10 feet away, let's say I could get 1,000 megabits, right? And my ISP provider was providing me 1,000 megabits, so a gigabit Ethernet, a gigabit ISP service. That's great. That means I'm literally getting the same speed as what my maximum for my ISP service is. Now, if you took a 10100 Ethernet cable or a gigabit Ethernet cable, if you went 10 feet, 100 feet, 150 feet, right, it's going to be the same speed regardless of the distance. That's not true with wireless. At wireless, 10 feet, it could be like 1,000 gigabits. And then at 20 feet, it could be 700 megabits. And then at 30 feet, it could be 500 megabits. By the time you get to 50 feet away, it could be half that. It could be below 500. It could be 350 megabits, right? So the actual signal is going down. So really the goal with a higher speed type of solution, whether it's mesh or a router, is to try to make sure that your speed is going to hopefully be as fast as you'd like it to be at the furthest point away from where the router's at, right? So if let's say you're streaming 4K, you know, and you're playing games and you're sending things to your smart speakers, you know, you're scrolling on your phone, you're doing kind of things like that. Maybe you at least need, let's say, like 100 megabits for all those devices at the furthest point away. You would want to make sure that your mesh solution has that. So this unit is really going to offer you an amazing experience in this regard because it is going to be a tri-band mesh solution. So this is going to give you Wi-Fi 6E for the what's called backhaul. So when these routers are essentially talking to each other, they use an ultra fast Wi-Fi 6E connection, or they can also use a 5 gigahertz band to talk to each other, or they can also use a hardline connection if you've got a home infrastructure that will allow you to run a cable from one unit to another unit, which would be ideal because then you could have all three wireless bands freed up for each other. Okay. So let's go ahead and just take a look here. The design's really cool, really interesting in terms of the overall design aesthetic, very advanced, optimized internal antenna design. So there's no external kind of antennas around anywhere. You'll see in terms of the actual connections here, it does have still rich connectivity here. So you've got 2.5 gigabit LAN, 2.5 gigabit WAN, and then you have 2 LAN ports right here. So this is going to be fantastic, especially for ultra high speed ISP service providers, or again, if you want to have a backhaul connection. And you see that those are both present there. All right. And you've also got your power connection right there and your power button. Very, very cool overall design right here. You can see the advanced, of course, antenna design that we've got in the unit. And that is going to be the ET. Let me go ahead and bring up the product page right here. And if you guys have any questions here, I know there's always some kind of questions regarding kind of Wi-Fi and stuff like that. I want to go ahead and just talk a little bit about some of the other kind of cool specifications on here. So give me 1 second. And let me bring up this page here. Okay. Okay, and there we go. All right, so we can see right here, the big thing right here with Wi-Fi 6E is this is going to be a dedicated, of course, ultra high-speed 6 gigahertz band, which allows for super fast performance. So you can see right there, 6 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and 2.4 gigahertz. You've got these 160 megahertz channels, right, which are going to be ideal for, of course, Wi-Fi 6. Now, keep in mind, if you are going to have the Wi-Fi 6E spectrum set up to be accessible within this type of environment, depending on how you set up this unit, you do have to be running Windows 11. Wi-Fi 6E is not supported under Windows 10. Okay. You can see the aesthetic design of the units, the 2.5 gigabit LAN. You've got the link aggregation support. Smart Connect, for some people that might be wondering what is Smart Connect. So you have different ways that you can set up the router. One of the cool things that you can do is you can have independent bands. So if you want to kind of connect to one band and then your other devices to another band, you can do that manually. Or you can have the router set up what's called in Smart Connect, where it actually will figure out the different types of devices and automatically apply that to one single ID. Some people that have like 30, 40, 50 devices might prefer something like Smart Connect because they don't have to manually kind of assign their products to unique bands, right? So if I've got everything from my laptop to my phone to a tablet to a console to a television to, my thermostat, I just add them all to one wireless network name, right? And the router will automatically transfer them over to their respective bands to be able to manage not only bandwidth and overall performance. So this is a great option that you have available to you, okay? And of course, this all can be configured and managed within the Asus Router App, which is available in iOS and Android. Very, very easy to work with. You can see full readout information regarding kind of how all the device is utilized. You have advanced parental controls. Voice control we have here is actually supports not only Google support, but also Amazon Alexa. So you have 2 levels of actually voice command support here. I believe up to about 20 commands. So that's pretty cool. And that kind of optimization and prioritization that I talked about earlier about, where if you want to prioritize for like the gaming or streaming, things along those lines, those are all available on this unit as well. So you can do that here. This you can take just a lot of the advanced design right here. I won't get into kind of too much of the technical aspects right here, but rest assured, this is using literally some of the most advanced hardware that's on the market, possibly for routers, including a quad-core 2 gigahertz based processor with actually 1 gigabyte of RAM. It's a very, very high performance chipset. This is going to be outstanding for those of you that really want great performance in a high number of devices and really need kind of advanced processing for also maybe running additional types of functions, like I said, whether it's quality service or even things like on what's called router VPN, which is pretty cool. On router VPN means that if you wanted to, you could actually sign up for a VPN service, run that directly on the router, and then have your devices actually benefit from the VPN, as opposed to having to run the VPN software directly on your device. Okay. Let me just see right here if we got any questions right there. Hey, Zach. Yeah, I will. Yeah, the actual calendar is already linked right now under featured announcements. But once I update it, it'll essentially automatically be updated within the featured announcement post to be more current. Right now, you kind of got to scroll through a bit, or you just use the search function and search for calendar. Hey, Tyrone, thanks for the feedback right there. We actually do have a couple of different like I already noted, we have that 4K OLED portable monitor that we're already going to be making available there with that PA series CDV. So that is going to be an option that we're going to have. And then beyond that, we also do have some, of course, other ProArt series products that already include a 4K OLED based panel. So I think we've already got you. Hey, Cher, I don't know right now. There's no giveaway, but maybe in the not too distant future. Literally just last month, I think we had a few different giveaways that were ending. You know, almost for Asus North America, we generally run giveaways almost every month. So always just make sure to keep it tuned to the Asus social media channels or our PC DIY group for any posts. So Remy Lord Sky, would that lower the delay from the VPN on the device? So that's a really good question. So when you run a VPN directly on the router, it can be, let's say, the most beneficial. But depending on the performance of the router's chipset, it can affect VPN handling, because essentially it's having to handle the compute nature of the VPN and while also handling, essentially offloading that to the actual client device, right? So an example is that when we saw actually moving from like a dual core to like a quad core, we could actually see double the VPN performance improvement because the actual VPN was so hard to run on, let's say, like these older dual core based chipsets that were on the router. So there is definitely kind of improvements that can be seen and realized. Whether or not that compared to how that might work in relation to the VPN performance of running the client directly on the device, that's a little bit hard to say, because it depends so much on the performance already of that device. But the main benefit really is that for some devices that have more challenges in terms of running them through a VPN, so like if you want to have that type of protection more easily spread to just kind of any device in the house, it's easier to run it on the router and have everything take advantage of that, right? Where if you try to do that with some types of devices, if they don't even have an ability to install an application, then how do you run them through a VPN? You don't have any option, right, to do that. So you need to do it through the router. And so that's really the big benefit. And we also do have technology, VPN Fusion, which is offered on select routers, which will actually even allow you to actually have VPN simultaneously on and off. So if you want to have something that was running through VPN, but something else that wasn't through a VPN, that can also be handled on the router. So that's a pretty cool level of functionality that we give you as well. Okay, so that is going to be the Zen Wi-Fi Pro Et12. So this guy will be coming out in the not too distant future. Again, it's going to offer you an extraordinarily high level of coverage. Again, this is really going to be best suited for people that need ultra high speed wireless network connectivity and high speed local connectivity, right? So 2.5 gigabit networking, really going to be looking for, I'd say, gigabit class wireless speeds throughout their home, right? And you're not even talking about 2,500, 3,000 square foot. I would be saying, over 3,000 square foot homes for this type of coverage, right? Where you're talking about the entirety of your house, you're talking about the garage, the patio, the front yard, the backyard, right? You really want outstanding coverage. That's what really this type of model is going to be focused for. Very similar if you took one of our high-end singular routers, like our AXE 11,000, or the GX 6000, or any of those type of models, and you pair them together, that's really going to give you kind of a whole nother next level of coverage. Okay. All right. So let's get ready here to, we're getting ready here towards the end, but we've still got a couple of other items here. So let me go ahead and move over to the next item. So As a quick recap here, we've gone through the Tough Gaming Capture Box FHD 120 BE series monitor, which integrates of course, 2 megapixel camera along with speakers and AI noise canceling there. So really cool monitor there, especially for people that are going to be doing productivity work, doing a lot of calls with friends or family. You've got the 2 ProArt series portable monitors that we talked about, right, with the PA16DC. That's a clarification point earlier when somebody asked me about the 4K OLED portable monitor. That would be that model versus where I did say the CDV. The CDV is the 4K IPS 10-point touch and pen supported base portable monitor. Then the Ultrawide PA348 CGV. Then we also then talked about the Zen Wi-Fi Pro Et12, and then the 2 mini PCs, so the PN64 and the PN52. All right, so we've got, and we also then at the very beginning talked about the Asus IPMI expansion card, right? So we've got, I think, 2 more monitors to talk about here. USB wireless adapter and a portable projector. So let's take a look here at this ZenBeam E2, which I think is pretty cool. So let me go ahead and bring this guy up. Let me see right here. I think, where do I have the E2? Here it is. Okay. And this is a pretty cool unit right here. Very compact base unit. And so this is going to be kind of supplementing along with our Latte kind of compact projector. So the Latte projector, which we recently launched, right, which is literally, the size of kind of a latte, very compact, but is an an HD based unit. This one is going to be, it's still HD. It's not going to be as high resolution, right, where the other one was a full 720p. This is going to be 848, right, in terms of the resolution, right? But that's still great for video. It's still going to look sharp and clean. Very good in terms of that option, right? But this is going to be very, very, very compact. 5-watt speaker right here that's integrated. It can support vertical or horizontal orientation, which is cool. There's actually an integrated G sensor in here. So if you actually wanted to kind of output anything, depending on the orientation, you can immediately take advantage of any type of vertical-based content or horizontal-based content. So you can easily just adjust the unit and would automatically adjust based on that option. This unit does support, of course, wireless mirroring, or you can also do, of course, a direct hardline based connection to the unit as well. So you can go ahead and put out content in either type of scenario. Now, this is the other thing right here is a built-in battery. A lot of portable projectors don't necessarily have a integrated battery, so you still have to power them via like a power bank, which makes them inherently bigger. This is going to be cool because it already has the battery built into it. So you essentially truly have a nice compact projector that you could literally put in a bag, put in your backpack, and then be able to take it somewhere and then immediately be able to actually take advantage of it because the speakers are built in, the actual battery is built in, right? And then you even have that wireless mirroring support outside of also even having to have a cable. So a lot of flexibility that you have available to you there. Keep in mind though that not every application, if it has an HDCP signal, can support wireless mirroring. So if you want to kind of mirror, generally you can very easily mirror like your desktop. You can mirror things like YouTube, but you might not necessarily be able to mirror like certain types of video on-demand services. So for that, you would have to utilize the hardline connection. So that is just something to keep in mind, okay? You can see right there, you've got the HDMI, your line level or headphone jack, and then USB-A connection right there. 300 lumens, which is very solid in terms of the overall output brightness. It is a DLP-based chip design, so that means very, very long lifespan, so 30,000 hours. And then you can see the WVGA resolution, which is going to offer you, like I said, nice and sharp output for video-based content, which is really what is going to be focused here on this unit. The 5-watt speaker, which is integrated in there and it's tuned. It's nice, it's clean, it's dynamic, it's vibrant. It's a solid speaker and definitely works really well, especially for dialogue-based content. It's going to be very solid. Now you can see right here, this is everything that comes included with it. You get your Wi-Fi adapter right here. You get your HDMI cable, your power cord, a carrying bag, and even the actual box can be set up as like a little mini, kind of like a positioning box to be able to kind of be used to give you a little bit more Z height if you want to kind of leave it in a certain kind of space or setup so that you kind of can set it down right there and take advantage of that. So we even kind of give you a little bit of functionality right there in terms of kind of what's in the box. So this is going to be the E2 ZenBeam. This is going to be a pretty cool little unit right here. And let me see, do I have the pricing on that model? I'm not sure yet if I have the pricing on the E2. Oh, I forgot to talk. Somebody might have wondered about the Zen Wi-Fi Pro Et12 is going to be coming at an MSRP of $899. And yes, the ZenBeam E2 is going to be coming in at $299. Okay, so $300 for the ZenBeam E2. And I think I can, yeah, I've got the product page for this guy too. Let me see if anybody's got any questions right here. If your question was in relation to comparing it to the ET12, does it have more coverage than the AXE 11000? Yes, because it's a mesh unit, right? Technically, the performance compared to the AXE 11000, depending on how you would deploy it, because you're going to be using one of the actual bands as a backhaul, could potentially actually be lower than the AXE 11000 because the AXE 11000 would have all three bands exposed, right? But if you were to use the wired backhaul, then the actual performance would actually be even greater. As far as for the coverage, unquestionably, it would give you better coverage because it's like literally taking two AXE 11000s and putting them together. So in that regard, yes, it is going to give you a higher level of coverage. Hey, Chad, thanks for your feedback regarding GPUs. We don't actually scale up the pricing in terms of the GPUs. So, that's going to be feedback that you would have to account for in terms of the marketplace and the other people that are going to be maybe reselling cards. For us, we actively coordinate working with our channel partners to be able to actually adhere to MSRP policies. So if you're buying a card, like take, for instance, from Newegg, make sure to buy first and foremost from ship and sold by Newegg or ship and sold by Amazon so that you can then have a card actually at MSRP based market pricing. Still, the reality is that they're challenging marketing conditions in terms of actually being able to pick up a card that, of course, are independent of us in that respect. But we do our best to also be able to try to offer a broad product portfolio to give different price points in terms of the budget segment, right? So that's the reason why we have everything from our ROG Strix LC series to the ROG Strix Tough Gaming, to the Noctua cards, to the Dual, to the KO series, to even our Phoenix series, right? Hey, Kevin, we actually, maybe in the future, we've done kind of a little bit of a test piloting in the past where we had the F1 series projector, which was a high refresh rate, 120 hertz projector. But maybe, I definitely think the projection for gaming is quite interesting. So, you never know in the future, right? MSRP for the ET12 is going to be $899, so $900. That is a US MSRP. Yep, I think the ZenBeam is a really nice unit. Again, $299. Hey, thanks, GP. Thank you so much. I appreciate your feedback in that regard. Okay, so let me go ahead. I think I dropped a link there in the chat for anybody that is interested in checking out the ZenBeam. Again, I think this is going to be a really complementary unit to check out in comparison to also the ZenBeam Latte. So the ZenBeam Latte is going to come in a little bit more expensive, of course, also a higher resolution. But if you're looking for compact, high quality projectors, both of those are going to be really nice options. Now, keep in mind that the ZenBeam Latte is also going to, like I said, be a larger resolution, and it also supports the Aptoide app, which is going to give you a little bit more flexibility to actually run applications directly from it, which gives you a little bit of a different experience as opposed to having to do the mirrored functionality or the direct hardwired functionality here of this ZenBeam. But that model, it's not double the cost, but it's definitely a bit more expensive. So that's where there's going to be a little bit of difference between the ZenBeam E2 and the L1, or essentially the Latte. Okay. All right, so let's go over to our next product right here, USB AX56. This is going to be a quick one. This is a brand new product that'll be coming out shortly. This is going to be for those of you that are essentially just being able to look for how I can add Wi-Fi 6 without having to do it through a PCIe card. Well, we've got you covered. This is going to allow you to do it through USB. So we will have the USB AC 56. Excuse me. Yes. USB AX56. This one will be coming in at $90. So this is just essentially one that you can be able to plug into a USB 3 port and be able to take advantage of it. Theoretical is, of course, 1800 megabits. That in real world, it's not going to be 1800 megabits. But realistically, with one of our quality Wi-Fi 6 routers, you can comfortably be seeing, I would say, even at range, probably 350 to 600 megabits. And actually, when you're closer, you could definitely see over 800. You could see actually over a gigabit level of wireless throughput. So, this is going to be, I think, a really great option, probably for older desktops and, of course, older laptops, where you don't necessarily have an easy way to be able to add in a PCIe based wireless option, or maybe it might be a lot more complicated, especially like on a laptop, especially if it's a very thin based laptop design. It could be a little bit more challenging. So here you have an easy way to be able to go ahead and add Wi-Fi 6 to the laptop or desktop just by installing it into a USB 3 port. So this will be coming out, like I said, probably around the very end of the month, moving into next month, coming in at $90, the USB AC 56. Okay. Let's see if we got any questions there. Would it be good for an outdoor projector movie night? I think it would be okay at 300 lumens. It depends. It's not necessarily a bad option. I'd say it'd be okay. It really kind of depends on how good the actual lighting is in terms of the backyard. If you've got any kind of direct overexposed lighting, right? I think the L1 might be a little bit better, and then some of the other projectors that we might have that have a little bit higher of a brightness rating might be a little bit better of an option for you. I would say though, there are a lot of people, if you actually take a look online, that are using even like 180 lumens and 250 lumens for some of these backyard kind of scenarios. So I do think that it is possible to do it with a 300, right? So it kind of just depends in terms of where your preference is. We do have units that do even have a higher level of rating support, but I do think the benefit of having the integrated battery, and then also, like I said, having the built-in speakers works well in that regard. The L1 Latte, I think, would also work really well in that regard too. So, but make sure that I would probably try to find a good quality pop-up, panel, right, or a good white wall, right, that you could kind of try to project up against in that space. And I think it definitely could still be quite reasonable. Okay. All right. So that is going to be the USB AC 56. Let's see what else we've got right here. USB AC 56, ZenBeam E2. Okay, so we got just the last couple of just portable displays really quick, and then we're going to wrap things up, guys, here. I'm going to give you, I forgot to give you guys one quick update here on the Herculex. The Herculex has been formally announced, so we're going to be coming out with this guy in the not too distant future. So make sure to go ahead and keep it tuned. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about right here. So give me 1 second. Here we go. Yep. Okay. Let's show this for you guys. This is a pretty cool little accessory that we've got right here that will be coming out in the not too distant future. This is going to essentially just be for those of you that are going to want to have essentially an ROG based branded accessory that will be designed for essentially offering you a brace, right, for your GPU. So the Herculex, if you guys remember a little bit while ago, some of you guys that watched the stream might have remembered that I showed this off, but we've now formally announced it and launched it, so it'll be coming in the not too distant future. This is it right here. You can see it's got the integrated little spirit level. It's got multi-point adjustment right there. It's going to have integrated Asus or Argb lighting support. So this is going to be the Herculex. Still not full ETA yet on the wing wall, which will be the other model that we're going to be offering, but we will have the Herculex based model that will first be available. Okay. So that guy will be coming out in the not too distant future. And let me see right here. I think we've got ZenBeam. Yeah, MP series. So let me go ahead and just show you these last couple of portable displays, guys. You can see right here. Yep, we've got this is going to be the MB16 AWP. Here you go. And this model right here is going to be essentially coming out in the not too distant future. This is going to be 15.6 inches. It's going to be a full HD based unit, IPS based display. Also has an anti-glare based polarizer in terms of the overall. So great in terms of reducing any type of reflections. It will also have built-in wireless support in terms of mirroring, which is going to be great. So you don't necessarily have to worry about having a hard line cable running into that if you want to be able to actually mirror out content. There is going to be actually a built-in G sensor here for auto adjustment in terms of portrait or landscape orientation. There is also tripod mounting support, and it also has speakers built in. And as you see right there with the USB-C cable, it does support the USB display alt signal, so you can actually have power and display signal. But then you also see right here, you have headphone jack support and HDMI. So you pretty much have every single type of option, and even including a wireless option, right? So that is going to be pretty sweet in terms of that flexibility for mirroring out content, right? So a lot of flexibility, and then you can also see that nice included sleeve there to be able to throw it in your bag, right? This is going to be a really nice unit, slim, lightweight base design as well. Okay, so this is going to be the MB16 AWP. And let me go ahead and bring up the next model right here, which is going to be the MB14 8HD. Bring the images up for this one. This one is going to be a little bit more focused for those people that want flexibility for something that is going to be equipped, as you can see right here, with pen support, which is cool, right? So you've got pen support, portable base display as well. You'll also be able to see right here that you've got, of course, multiple connections, including your HDMI, your USB-C, and your headphone out right there, as well as physical buttons. And you can see an integrated kickstand, which is cool in terms of being able to usage. This one will also, I believe, have the tripod mount socket design as well. And I think I have links for these ones as well. So give me 1 second. Yep. So I will, let me bring up this link right here. And keep in mind that for the 14, right, this is going to be an IPS-based display, so still give you that nice level of color accuracy. It's going to support the 10-point touch, right, along with the active stylus support. So that's going to give you a lot of flexibility there, right? And that kickstand, as I noticed, is going to feature a stepless design, which allows it to fold back at any angle up to about 150 degrees. So you can essentially prop it up to view, or you can go ahead and angle it down to be able to go ahead and write on, right? And then it's also going to have that integrated tripod mount, right, which I noted earlier, so that if you want to be able to position on something, you can also go ahead and do that as well. Okay. And that is going to be, I think, is that our last portable display? I think I have one left. Lots of portable displays today. Oh, yeah, the MB61H. This is going to be another OLED portable display, and I think this is going to be maybe one of the most popular for a lot of people, is going to be this model right here. So this is going to be a full HD model right here. So let's go ahead and show you this model. Supposed to remember the other portable OLED that we talked about, which was going to be 4K. This one is going to be full HD. So of course it's going to be at a lower price point. It's going to have that very, very nice premium course cover that comes included. It can also be used as a stand as well. And you're also going to have that USB-C display alt connection, so that natively can supply both the power as well as also give you the display signal. You can see right there, you also got the headphone jack, right? And your HDMI. Let me check here. Anything key specification, the one I want toted on there. Yeah, it's full HD, 15.6 inches, and Delta E is going to be less than 2 for this model, right? This one will also have a proximity sensor in here that essentially dims the display when it's not in use, which will help to also conserve power. Okay, so that is going to be the MQ168H. And I think that covers just about every single one of the new products that I wanted to go ahead and touch on today, guys. So lots of new products. You can see a lot of new displays. I didn't know. I think I even got the chance to actually touch on the MB. Let me go ahead and just bring these up super quickly. But we have two new ones that are actually launching right now that you guys should be able to pick up very shortly. These are going to both be two great options if you guys are interested in displays. One's going to be coming at 189 and one's going to be coming in at 229. These are both USB-C, 15.6 inches, full HD, and IPS offerings right here. With one's going to be the MB166C and then the MB168H. So let me bring these up quickly right here. Here we go. This is going to be the first one. This is going to be the MB168H. Like I said, 15.6 inches, IPS, full HD, USB Type-C, also supports micro HDMI. You can also see it has that nice little foldable sleeve, right? Which can be propped in the unit to support either your portrait or your landscape orientation, right? And here you can see it used in either type of orientation. Makes also a great secondary side display if you want to be able to take advantage of that. Because of course, the IPS, you got good wide viewing angles. This is a really nice type of design here in terms of this included, like I said, a protective sleeve, but also kind of kickstand, right? And you still do have that tripod support also in this model as well, right? And this one is going to be was it 229? Let me double check right here, guys. Yeah, that one is going to be, yes, 229. And then coming in at a little bit lower cost, but with a little bit less kind of a connectivity will be the MB 16.6. So 166C, which will be 189. So this one you also see 15.6 full HD IPS USB-C, but none of that micro HDMI, right? Still has that USB-C display output support, right? Which is great. Still will also support automatic orientation, but through the display widget software. So that means that the cable has to be attached to be able to support that functionality. Very compact and very lightweight as well, right? One cable support with that USB-C, and you still get the tripod optional mount option, right? So if you essentially don't need that micro HDMI, you don't need as much of kind of the flexibility with the included sleeve and kind of kickstand and some of those other basic items. If you're just looking essentially for a USB-C enabled IPS 15.6 display, this would be a really nice option. And this one will be coming in at less than 200, which will be coming in at 189. All right. So before I wrap it up, let me just see here if we got any questions right here. Portable monitor good for MiniPC? Yeah, Mike, I think for MiniPC, we're actually seeing people actually utilize them, especially I think with some of the other portable monitors that we have that have 10-point touch and stylus, also using them as like a secondary display for their actually desktop setups, where some users using it for like quick email visibility, sometimes immediate kind of viewing, right? So they're looking at photos and then they're maybe kind of swiping to a larger display. Then they're maybe using their stylus functionality or the 10-point touch for other kind of applications. So it can have for very, very mixed usage kind of scenarios. It just depends on kind of the desk environment setup that you have. But I think the other nice type of portable display, because keep in mind, we even have gaming displays or XG portable displays. There's a lot of different usage that we're seeing. So where people seeing connecting to their phones, to their Nintendo Switches, right? They're connecting them to the laptops, the desktops. Also, like I said, connecting them maybe if they're content creation, connecting it directly with like a DSLR camera, right? Or they're connecting it to a mirrorless camera. So there's a lot of different types of flexibility and functionality you can have with, of course, a portable-based monitor. Best place to hit, I would generally probably recommend Newegg tends to be very quick at listing these units. Amazon is fairly responsive. They do take a little bit longer. B&H is pretty solid as well. Our own Asus eStore, which is now integrated into our product pages, is pretty good for some of these models as far as when they're getting skewed up. But I would probably say the fastest tends to be Newegg. But if you kind of want to check to see as these models become available, just make sure to go to the Asus website and then you can click on the product. And if there's a buy option, you'll actually see that available. So let me actually show you that real quickly here. You see right here, this model, which is right now become available, the MB166C, you'll see there's actually a button that says buy. I can click on that button and then that will actually allow me to directly add it to cart, right? So I can buy it directly from the Asus store, right? But over the coming weeks, you'll see these two models essentially start to pop up, and the other models will say it'll be more as we move into the end of Q1 and as we start to also move into Q2. All right. Well, that wraps up pretty much everything in our stream today. We had essentially a lot of brand new products to talk about, a lot of monitors, especially a lot of portable displays. So that takes care of pretty much everything I wanted to dive into. If you guys have any other questions, comments, whatever it might be, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the group, the PC DIY Facebook group. I'm going to go ahead and drop a link again in the chat. If you guys are not members there, feel free to go ahead and drop a post there. Tag me if you'd like. And I will do my best to go ahead and follow up with you guys when I can to be able to answer any of your questions. And in next week's stream, we're definitely going to be bringing back, of course, the Asus PC DIY Builder Spotlight, where we take a look at your guys' builds, whether it's ATX, Mini, ATX, water-cooled, air-cooled, RGB, no RGB, it doesn't matter. Submit your guys' build. We'd love to showcase them off on the stream here and be able to take a look at what you guys are putting together in terms of your guys' systems. So I'm super excited about bringing that back, as well as also introducing like I said, the Builder Spotlight Q&A, where we actually get to talk a little bit to some of the amazing builders in our community about their systems and about their kind of experiences, not only working with Asus hardware, but how they went about the actual build for the systems that we're actually showing off. So I think that's going to be pretty cool as well. Can you in the EU, Evo? No, we do not do international shipping. So this stream is focused in North America. So generally our focus is providing information when it comes to Asus North America. For availability in your region, you definitely would have to check with Asus in your respective country, in your region, in terms of availability and pricing. Okay. All right, guys. So with that, thank you guys so much. Take care. Take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy your guys' weekend. Best of luck with your build.